Watson, touchdown! Hunter Renfrow. Little man makes another enormous play. 1 second remaining. Tagovailoa trying to make up for it. Fires to the end zone. Touchdown! Alabama wins! The Crimson Tide will not be denied.
Good snap. Good hold. And the kick is blocked. Appalachian State has stunned the college football world. One of the greatest upsets in sports history. Blocked by Corey Lynch.
What's going on, guys? Forgot to turn off the mic. It's Red5478 here talking about a pretty fucking boring day of college football. This is my second stream I've ever done. I appreciate the three of you guys that are here to say hello. And we're going to kind of dive right into it. I don't know if you guys saw or not the ending of the Arizona Bowl. It was the only bowl today that was actually good, like actually a good fucking game. The rest of the games, they were all kind of mid to mediocre shellackings. We'll get kind of into everything, but first off, I want to shout out everybody that comments today on this stream. I will feature you in the show. We even got a banner in here now. Fuck yeah, right? We're actually figuring this shit out once in a while. So first off, Tiger, I remember you from last night. Welcome back. Happy to see you. Alec, good to see you, my man. Billy, I know, dude. I know. The Auburn game sucked, dude. I know, man. There was no good games at all today. Armstrong, welcome back. Happy to see you again. So let's just kind of break it down here. I got ESPN up. Hopefully the computer doesn't commit stupid internet here, and we can actually go through and kind of break down some of these games. We'll get to the ones that everybody remembers the most. But let's just start off with a couple of them here that happened earlier today. Obviously, we had the Peach Bowl with Ole Miss taking Penn State to the fucking woodshed. I don't know about you guys. I'm not surprised. If you remember my bowl games video that I led up to before bowl season began, it was an absolute fucking. There was no fucking way I thought that this team, Penn State, I should say, was going to win. And the simple fact came down to this: as it was proven when they played Ohio State, when they played uh, Michigan, there was no. They do not know how to compete in the big time stage. They don't. Drew Alar, Drew Alar, for whatever goddamn reason, just did not perform. He can't perform, period, at this level. I don't know what the fuck it is with this guy. He has everything listed that could, to be good. 6'5", 243 out of Ohio. He's got the stats right there to show that he has the potential in games where it's not as important for him to, be perfect. He doesn't have as much pressure, but the second you tick that pressure up just a tiny notch, he crumples like a piece of wet paper, and it's just, oh God, it's just, uh, it, I don't know what to say here. If you're a Penn State fan, I don't know what to tell you here. Something needs to be done in Nittany Lions land. I'm not quite sure what all you need to do. I don't know if it's a recruiting issue. I don't know if it's I don't know what it is. Dylan 49. We'll get to Florida State here in a second. As an FSU fan, do y'all have any tissues? Oh, don't worry. We will break down Florida State here in a little bit. I'm going to just kind of roll through a couple of these games real fast here. So obviously, Ole Miss proving once again that the SEC has the Big Ten's number, as we all saw last night. Mizzou handily defeated Ohio State. Score wasn't that big, but it was a pretty easy win on paper for Mizzou. They just outlasted Ohio State and just committed full dominance to the game. So I really want to talk about the other games. But let's talk about what's on our minds here. And I'm gonna take Dylan's word for it. Dylan, y'all got fucked. Y'all just got fucked, dude. I don't know. What do you want me to say? Y'all were screwed from the start just because of the goddamn transfer portal. I'm gonna bring in a friend of mine here in just a moment to kind of scream into the abyss, I guess he wants to do. But I'll bring him on, and he's got some interest in this. But Florida State, it was exactly what we thought it was going to be, but worse. I thought, okay, Georgia's probably going to take these guys and, a solid 40 to 15, 14 win. 35-10. It was going to be a blowout, but I did not expect it to be a nuke being dropped on Hard Rock Stadium. I mean, good Lord, it got bad early and it never got better. Got bad early, it never got better. I'm sorry to the Florida State fans out there. Y'all did not deserve that. I'm going to modify my ticker here because clearly I pre-mode it and I forgot to update it before we started. So I'm going to do that, and I'm waiting on my buddy to get his ass in here. There we go. Joining us now, Billy has joined us audio only. Billy, how you doing, man?
Well, Jesus Christ. That is all.
Just, well.
Like, at this point, 2 fucking tight ends sounds reasonable other than this fucking score. Like, Jesus.
I mean, this was just an absolute beatdown.
Yeah. I know FSU was fucked to begin with, mainly because of injuries and shit. But good fucking God. This was...
Alec, I agree. TCU all over again. It literally was.
This wasn't beyond TCU. This was... Have you listened to Opie and Anthony?
You broke up a little. What'd you say there?
Have you listened to Opie and Anthony? They got fucking pink socked.
I don't know that reference. I'm sure it's one of our 6 viewers in here will understand the reference. Oh, man.
Burlap anus.
A burlap penis. Jesus Christ. Let's take it easy. I'm trying to build this shit up still. So let's.
But here's the thing. Okay, gonna take it easy.
Oh man, Georgia. They came into this game pissed the fuck off. Honest to God, they clearly had a point to prove, and they proved it with a 60-point shellacking on the Seminoles. And here's what I want to say before we get into too much of the Florida State, you got beat the piss out of you kind of talk. Florida State this year overcame a lot of goddamn adversity to make it to this point. I mean, they had a lot of close calls against teams that, frankly, it shouldn't have been that close. They had a lot of injuries to overcome, especially at the quarterback position that they just couldn't get past. And that right there commands respect. But I don't think that this 63-3 result is a score that tells us, oh man, Georgia really should have been in the playoff. No. Georgia still lost the conference championship under the current rules of the playoffs. Alabama, for whatever reason, was picked to be the team over Georgia since Georgia won.
Mainly for one reason, because of the dick writing by ESPN. Anyways, moving on.
I'm going to stop you. Not so fast, my friend. The dick writing I see online for ESPN, I think there is a grain of truth to it because the ESPN does have an SEC network. They also have an ACC network that they own as well. So let's stop right there for a moment. Next, if it was all about just getting the SEC to the top, then explain to me the years that an SEC team hasn't won, right? Ohio State, in no way, shape, or form, in 2014 was thought they were going to compete, but yet they won the whole fucking thing, right?
Yeah, but
Clemson, the couple of years that they were in it, they won the whole fucking thing over SEC teams. Is the reason why the SEC is always in the conversation is because the SEC is just that fucking good, and it's a bitter pill to swallow. But it's true. It's Tiger Spawn. You got to comment. Georgia fans are acting like they just won the Super Bowl, even though their opponents were heavily impaired. It wasn't a great win. Georgia fans, chill out. I mean, but was it a bad? I don't think it was a bad win.
Yeah. I mean, back to the SEC conversation. I don't mind if it's like the conference being damn good. The problem is it's the same fucking team that's there all the time.
Well, why are they there all the time? Why are they there all the time?
I don't know why.
And was it always Alabama? Was it always Georgia? Was it always LSU? No, it hasn't always been Alabama. It hasn't always been. It's been spread out. Everybody has their ups and their downs and their lefts and their rights. Um, Alabama was good before the college football playoff, before ESPN really took a firm grasp of the bowls that they control. So it's not just ESPN. I think that's a big conspiracy theory that a lot of people attach themselves a little too hard to. I'm not saying you are, Billy, unless you really think that the only reason why the SEC is here every year is because of just ESPN sucking their dick.
I have more choice words than that, but I'm not going to say it on this stream.
Okay. Well,
Moving
let me make
on.
this clear. Well, no, we're going to talk about this more because I think it needs to be said. The SEC, they have a right to be looked at with a lot more favor than the other Power 5 conferences for one reason and one reason only. Ever since Alabama uncorked the bottle in 2009, they have been in almost every single national championship game, all the way back to 2009 in the BCS. So they've been dominant for a long time. Hell, you could argue the years before Alabama, Florida, LSU in 07, 08, before Alabama took a firm grasp, they were in it as well.
Don't forget about the couple years about Auburn.
Yeah, no, like Auburn towards the tail end of the BCS as well, beating Oregon for the national championship, getting beat by Florida State in the last BCS national championship before they went to the playoffs. And it's not like these SEC teams are dominating. If it was heavily favored towards the SEC and there was some conspiracy out there, believe you me, we would have two teams in the SEC from in the playoffs every single year. That's just not fucking happening. What it is the SEC, for whatever reason, whether it be recruiting, whether it be coaching, whether it be their contract with CBS for all these years, getting the national television exposure, they've just been the better conference. They've been the top conference in all of college football, and you got to look at that and respect it because you could say the years that Clemson was really goddamn good.
Right. I agree with that statement.
But
Man,
okay, what's the issue then?
The statement that you're saying. I'm just pissed off that it has to be Alabama and all that stuff.
I agree. I'm not happy about it either. You think a Buckeye fan is happy to see Alabama in a Rose Bowl game against Michigan? I wanted us to be there, but we're not. And Missouri proved that we weren't supposed to be there. Well, with an asterisk. And I think that's the biggest issue with college football right now is the transfer portals. You can't tell me with a straight face that if none of these Florida State players had opted out, that this would have been as big of a blowout. I think Georgia still would have won because I do think they are a better team. But you can't tell me Florida State was going to get blown out by 60 fucking points if it wasn't for the transfer portal. It's as simple as that.
Exactly.
You look at the transfer portal rules in college football, it is so fucking broken now.
I mean, if I was the head of the NCAA and I was looking at the transfer portal, I'd be looking the transfer portal and converting that into like the transfer market, how European soccer clubs do it.
No,
really?
You can't do that because I don't want to cut people off, but I would cut you off on that one for one reason and one reason only. You can't do that when you have academics involved.
Well,
you just
not
can't.
That way.
These are schools. These are the football teams are quickly becoming more like businesses than actual schools. I'm going to just the layout, but they're quickly becoming more like businesses than schools at the college football level. So in some areas, you need to treat that with a certain amount of decorum and say, yeah, okay, we need to pay our players. We need to provide incentives for them to play in these bowl games that may not be included in the playoff.
I'm referring to like somewhat incentives of that way possible. So, but it's still like kind of vague no matter what, because the rules are just the rules of NL and fucking. I lost thought at this point.
It's okay. I know where you're going with it. The rules of the transfer portal and NIL are absolutely backwards because they've been flying by the seat of their pants and have been getting away with it for years now, and it's not just NIL and transfers. You also got to look at the coaching rotation as well.
Yeah.
Like you're allowing these teams to be gutted not only in the depth chart but also in the coach's office. That's something that needs to be changed as well. If a coach is fired in the middle of the season, I understand that. I'm not telling you people can't stop doing that. I'm talking about the teams that are getting their coaches poached right at the end of the regular season before they ever play in a goddamn bowl game. That's what I'm talking about. And if you're going to change anything, the change needs to start with the coaches and then the athletes. You got to stop the practice of coaches being poached by their team, by other teams, right at the end of the regular season before they play a conference championship, before they play a bowl game. It's got to stop because it's diluting the quality of football. I'm all for the number of bowl games we have right now. I don't think you can have, as long as you have teams that are at or better than 500, you can justify that, I believe, because you can't reduce the number of bowl games. As long as there's a sponsor there for a game, that's money. Literally, that's money.
Yeah, you can
But
go ahead.
But you can't get rid of bowl games, but you can work to make these bowl games better quality. And I got a comment from a new viewer here, Roll Tide 99. Happy to have you. Once again, the committee got it right by leaving out a garbage team. Yeah. So if you go back and you watch my video where I talked about Florida State's elimination from the college football playoffs, there were really three factors that went into the elimination for Florida State from the playoffs. The first factor was obviously Jordan Travis. The depth chart, it became obliterated at quarterback. And when you have an offense that is all about the quarterback position and it has to be ran by a good, competent quarterback, the moment you lose that, the overall of your team could go from an A+ to a C- in a snap if your team lives and dies by that quarterback, which Florida State sadly did. And then you look at another factor, which was Alabama beating Georgia. That was probably the biggest factor weighing on the committee's decision, the heads. If Georgia had won their bowl game, the SEC championship, we would have gotten this in the Rose Bowl on Monday. Not this, but we would have gotten probably a similar outcome on Monday. But they would have had no choice because at that point you would have an undefeated Florida State winning a conference championship, an undefeated defending national champion Georgia, an undefeated Pac-12 champion, and a one-loss Texas team that had beaten Alabama.
Or basically an undefeated Michigan team, but that's
my bad. An undefeated Michigan team as well. You're looking at a bunch of what ifs here that are being answered by the result of this game, because Georgia by a mile is better than Florida State. Even if they're at full power, they're still better than Florida State. And you can hate, and thank you, Billy. You can hate the precedent that was set here by the committee. But you can't hate the reasons at the end of the day. The committee thought that Florida State, without Jordan Travis, would not be able to stand up against these other teams in the discussion. So when you have that, and then you also look at the transfer portal and everything that happened after they were left out, it kind of goes to show. But again, the transfer portal is a big reason why they got blown out here. And I think this should be a bell warning for college football that, hey, something needs to be changed here on the transfer portal side at the minimum before we go into the playoffs next season. Because let's say you have a team like Penn State. Let's say Penn State, who, if they do what they did this year, they would be in the playoffs in the 12-team system. Let's say they do the exact same thing. All of a sudden, you could have a scenario where they're not sure if they're in or they're out going into the conference championship week. And you could have guys, intending to transfer. That could seriously fuck up a team. You have coaches being poached before they go into the playoffs to take a head coaching gig from your coordinators. That could fuck up a team. Not saying that people would willingly leave the playoffs, but it's possible. Under the current system, other than winning a national championship, there's nothing really keeping you in after the regular season's over. You don't have any more academic commitments. You don't have any more regular season commitments to your team. The bowl game is entirely optional. So if you want to make a change, you can either require players to play in said bowl game, which how the fuck are you going to require them to do that? They'll just opt out for the NFL draft or they'll be a healthy scratch. Or you could provide incentives through payments to players to play for scholarship. That's something that we are going to be seeing here, I think, probably a little bit reasonably soon. But the issue when it comes to paying players directly for scholarships to keep them in a bowl game is how are you going to do that and do that effectively? I watched an Instagram reel from an Ohio State player on Instagram today, and these guys at the Cotton Bowl are getting all sorts of goodies to go into the Cotton Bowl, including $500 gift cards. If that's not a good enough reason to keep your ass playing, you need to pay a lot more than $500 gift cards to players in a gift package. I don't really know where you would begin, but I think the first place you could also start would be getting a commissioner for just college football. That's something I've been hearing getting floated around a lot, is breaking off the governing body of major college football into a different entity and having them ran kind of like the Major League Baseball or the NFL, when they have a commissioner at the top that is the only guy that signs off on final decisions, and you're not leaving it up to a patchwork of conference commissioners and only have the interests of their conference in mind. Instead, you have one guy at the top that has the interests of the entire sport in mind. And that's one thing I've been hearing a lot of as we got closer and closer to the playoffs on Monday, is having a commissioner of all college football, not just of conference commissioners. I mean, what do you think of that, Billy?
I think it could kind of work in particular. But then again, like the conferences, like are just going to be playing a bunch of fucking a game of chicken with each other, and now they're going to be playing, if the commissioner happens, they're going to be playing chicken with him. And it's the same thing if like the NFL owners and
not
the
necessarily
commissioners. Well, not necessarily.
Not necessarily. So it's tough. So college football is not like pro sports in any way. It's similar when you look at it on TV from a fan's perspective. When you get down to the business aspect and the brass tacks of it, it's a whole nother beast. It really is. Because you got to worry about commissioners of entire schools worth millions and millions, if not billions of dollars. And in the NFL, you're a commissioner for 32 franchises. In college football, you would be commissioner for 120 something schools. That's a lot to take the megaphone from. And I don't know if anybody would want that fucking job. There's probably a mad bastard out there crazy enough that would raise his hand and be like, yeah, I'll do it.
Red, we got breaking news.
Oh, yeah?
The Detroit Pistons have finally won a game.
Oh, that's shit. God damn it. They won a fucking game. Oh, well.
Against the Toronto Raptors.
Oh, well. Whatever. All good things must come to an end.
Anyways, moving on.
Yeah. Wingstop Pack Watch. Okay. So anyway, you look at the future of college football, the 12-team playoff is going to solve a lot of problems. That's what I keep on hearing, and that's what I honestly believe. The first problem that the 12-team playoff will solve immediately is you won't have this controversy anymore of who's in, who's out, because once you get down to teams 10, 11, and 12, you're not arguing, well, could this team legitimately be a national champion? You're arguing, do they even deserve to even be in this fucking playoff? And that's a different conversation than, say, leaving out an undefeated conference champ, right? You would have that happen. You're also going to go to controversies of lesser nature, like, well, it's a battle of who's going to have home field advantage in their playoff game for the opening round, because there'll be 12 teams. 4 teams will get a first round bye, and they'll meet up with whoever at a neutral site. But that first round is going to be at home stadiums for the home team, whoever it may be. The higher seed would have home field advantage. And that could be critically important depending on what the program is. There's a big difference between, Liberty getting a home field in the playoffs and Florida State getting home field in the playoffs in the first round. And you could see, what I'm curious about is how they're going to really get all this scheduling done. Are we going to Are we going to have this conference championship and then a week off and then we start? Or are we going to have everybody start immediately after conference championships and there be no bye week, essentially? Or you could have opening round games.
Well, if there's going to be no bye week, that kind of fucks the players because of injuries and shit.
But you also got to look at it from an academic perspective. The school year ends the week of conference championships.
Yeah,
and then you could be committed to be playing 3 or 4 more games.
Yeah,
depending on which conference you win.
And then again, you have to think about like that, and also back to academics. Those are usually when the first round gets started. Those are usually the weeks of finals. So that's going to be basically filling up their plate and everything.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting
Hectic.
from an academic side. But these schools know what the hell they're doing. At this point, they know how to.
They better. Anyways, shall we move on to the next bowl game?
We'll come back to this here in a little bit, I'm sure. But let's talk about some of the other games. We just touched on the Peach Bowl a little bit ago. Let's talk about Music City. The first Big Ten win in one of the major bowls this weekend. Probably going to be the only one, unless Michigan has anything to say about it, was the Peach Bowl, was the Music City Bowl, with Maryland knocking off and routing the Auburn Tigers. To put it in perspective, Maryland's quarterback, Tagovailoa, not the older, the younger Tagovailoa, came in and opted out of the draft. So you got a backup quarterback starting for Maryland, and they just took Auburn to the fucking woodshed. I mean, 31-13 final score, up 21-zip in the first quarter. This game was over before the second quarter began.
I mean, then again, for Maryland, you beat a team that lost to New Mexico State and got fucked over by a fucking multiple miracles for Alabama.
And that's exactly what I was kind of thinking there. Auburn was very fraudulent going into this bowl game, in my opinion. They did not have everything in place that they needed to really compete. A fact that, 7-5 Kentucky got Clemson and damn near beat them. And Auburn 6-6 gets, a better day to play a game, and they get routed by Maryland. That, makes me kind of scratch my head a little bit here. But again, the transfer portal affects, both sides here as well. So who really knows how good either team really was here? And that's what sucks about all this, is that there's really no way to say who's better than who and why. Maryland, Tagovailoa opts out, right, for the draft. Auburn, I'm sure, has some players that opted out as well. Let me see. LOL, why was Auburn the favorite? Were they the favorite coming in? Were they the betting odd win?
Hold on, let me look.
Because if that's the case, then DraftKings needs to do their fucking research, because that makes no damn sense to me.
That's kind of not DraftKings. That's ESPN bets.
Really? Oh, they're fucking morons then. I knew, I predicted Maryland was going to win this game because this Auburn team just was not that good at all this year.
Can I read how much ESPN favored Auburn by?
Please.
By 5.5 points.
It's not a massive margin.
It's not a massive, but Jesus Christ, favoring Auburn.
Yeah, Auburn, Auburn. They had their shining moment against Alabama where they nearly knocked off Alabama and by proxy would have gotten Florida State into the playoffs, but it just wasn't going to fucking happen. Maryland was really goddamn good this year. They made it tough on Michigan the second to last week of the regular season. They about beat them. I was actually in Michigan visiting family, and I saw a lot of people sweating in the sports bar that we were eating in. And I was just smirking like, you sons of bitches have no idea how good this fucking team really is. Maryland was good. They were really good all season. They're probably going to slide a little bit next year, losing Tagovailoa. But this performance right here with Auburn gives you hope if you're Maryland for next year for sure. Because I mean, they could. It's going to be a tougher conference with the Pac-12 teams joining in: Washington, Oregon, UCLA, USC. But you could still compete and have a really good season. I don't know about winning the damn thing, but you can definitely. You're going to be. They're going to be tough. They're going to be a tough team to put away. Rutgers, for that matter, they beat Miami yesterday. They're going to be a tough team to put away next year too. So the Big Ten has kind of got a little bit of these teams that have been getting their asses beat for the last 10 years, starting to make that resurgence and starting to get pretty good. And Maryland's no longer a team that can be pushed around, I don't think.
Yeah.
Armstrong Addy, I expect us to be mid-pack in the new Big Ten. I'm assuming that means you're a Maryland fan, and I apologize for the suffering that Ohio State's brought to you over the years. I would expect Maryland to be, another 8-3, 8-4 team next year as well, to kind of bounce back. And depending on their schedule, of course. I mean, it's going to depend on who they play. Like if you're going to be playing Washington or Oregon or the UCLA, you could be in some trouble. But Maryland, I feel like you're going to be fine at the end of the day. Auburn, on the other hand, they got a lot of work to do. They got a lot of fucking work to do.
It's going to be a long rebuild.
Indeed. I think next year you're probably going to see more of the same from Auburn before they can really kick it back up in the high gear unless they get some pretty good options off of the portal. We'll have to wait and see on that front. But I want to touch base on this game that just wrapped up in Arizona. The only game today that was actually good, because all these other games were just snooze fests. They were not good at all. Peach Bowl was kind of good to start the game. It wasn't a blowout early, but Ole Miss pulled away relatively easily in the second half, and it was easy for them from there. Dart was a fucking machine at quarterback today from Ole Miss. I was really goddamn impressed. But looking at the Arizona Bowl, the Barstool Sports Arizona Bowl, that game, the broadcast of that game was something else. Like the fact, first off, if you didn't watch it, it's probably because one, you didn't know it was playing, or two, the CW was the only company airing that game. It wasn't an ESPN bowl game. It was a CW Barstool Sports game. So right away, I'll forgive you if you didn't know about this game, but it was worth watching. I mean, Wyoming did not have the most impressive stats, but what saved them, I think, in the end was DeQuan Finn transferred from Toledo. So he's no longer their quarterback, and he was the MVP of the MAC this season. So if DeQuan Finn was in this game, Wyoming probably loses, but it took a last-second field goal at the bell in order for Wyoming to pull away and win this game.
Yep.
And I think I heard that their head coach was retiring. So, I mean, what a way to win the game. If you're Toledo, your run is probably over with in the MAC. They've been pretty good the last couple of years in the MAC, but it's probably done now. I don't know how you're going to have to start over. You might be competing in the MAC next season, but you're going to be kind of mid. So the Wyoming, I was unfortunately not able to follow them too much because naturally it's Wyoming, and I didn't have the ability to stream games or to really follow closely what's going on at the end of each week like I will next year. But well done to the Cowboys. And just like that, we unfortunately have to go back to this shellacking because you can't talk about it enough. I mean, this was just
Like, it's like an art piece that is horrific. Like, you think it's disgusting and everything, but you just can't look away. Like,
yeah. I mean, if it was I mean, look. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit here because this is just. I'm gonna go to the box score, right? Let's look at the box score of this game.
okay.
The first quarter, it didn't look
God
that
damn.
bad. First quarter, it didn't look that bad for Florida State. It was 7-0 in the first quarter, but then you go to the second quarter. 35-3 was the score in the second quarter. Not 35-3 for the whole game. The whole game, it was 42-3 at the half. That is how absolutely screwed Florida State was in this game. I mean, just fucking ridiculous what was put on display here. I mean, Georgia, they didn't get a touchdown until the end of the first quarter, and then it was just score, field goal by Florida State, score the rest of the fucking way. I thought they were going to about ready to go up in 70 to finish this fucker off. And they probably should have. But it sends a message. The transfer portal needs to be fixed. You could say, well, no, Florida State was just that bad, or no, Florida State was hampered because their quarterback got hurt. They had fucking 20, 30 players transfer out of Florida State. Another handful transferred out of Georgia too, and it still didn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
And I don't really know. So looking at this score, I'm going to kind of go through and just lay out what I would be worried about for college football in the near future. Very first thing that I'm going to be worried about right now is the transfer portal. You got to get that fixed. You got to figure out a way to compromise players wanting to transfer and leave and start up with a new school, and also players that could be a graduate transfer and wanting to opt out of the draft or something like that. You need to find a compromise there, and you got to find a way to get people in. The playoffs, the 12-team playoffs, again, that should solve a lot of the transfer portal problems for the bigger games. So like your New Year's Sixes, those will be resolved with the 12-team playoff. But for the other bowl games that maybe don't matter as much to the casual fan, it's going to be a lot harder to convince these players to stick around. Like, who's going to fucking stay for the ReliaQuest Bowl, for the Citrus Bowl, if it's not involved with getting into a national championship game? Like, who would stick around for that shit? Unless you have some sort of incentive. I mean, I know we only got 3 people watching the stream right now. We've only been up to 7. I appreciate the 3 of you guys that are here watching, but if you have an idea, definitely comment it below. I mean, you could go with the commissioner route. You could go with any sort of different route like that to more codify the rules and make things make more sense. But it kind of is what it is at this point, and we got to ride with this the rest of the way. Thankfully, New Year's Day, we are going to be looking at a much better situation, I feel like, when it comes to bowl games. So let's kind of preview some of what we got coming up here for bowl games on ESPN. And we'll probably call it from there, because I don't really have much else to add right now. I'm sorry I couldn't stream the Orange Bowl earlier, guys. It just kind of didn't work out that way sometimes. Real life gets in the way, and you need to do what you need to do as a human being to take care of your shit. So I would have loved to have streamed that fucking tire fire.
What?
Though. That would have been
Fucking
hilarious.
Hazaroth.
So just give it a second. My computer's committing slow internet mode. Billy, what bowl game are you looking forward to on Monday the most, besides the playoff?
Oh, the fucking slaughter that's coming to the state of Iowa.
Oh yeah, the Citrus Bowl, right?
Yep.
That's going to be good. Alec Kazam, my hot take is Washington and Michigan are frauds. That is a very hot take, Alec. You want to expand on that? Alec, I don't think Georgia should be in the playoffs, but if they were, they would kill Washington or Michigan. I would not disagree with you after that performance by Georgia on Florida State, except we're not going to know that answer at all. And it sucks. Because imagine this is the one thing that I keep on finding as I continue to make my national championship video, which, by the way, I know a lot of you fuckers have been commenting and asking, when's it going to be out? When's it going to be done? All that good shit. It's almost there. I promise. It's almost there. It'll be done as soon as I can get it done. But let's kind of expand on this a little bit. Monday, New Year's Bowls. We got the ReliaQuest Bowl, formerly the Outback Bowl, in Raymond James between Wisconsin and LSU. Rest in peace, Wisconsin. That was my prediction. I kind of went full Southern Revival Baptist pastor when I reviewed that bowl game a little while back. And my opinions have not changed in that regard. Yes, your Heisman quarterback opted out. I understand that. My computer is committing Wi-Fi issues. We're having a little bit of technical issues at the moment. Just stand by on that one. Just give it a second. I'll be right back up. But I'm going to predict that LSU just wipes out Wisconsin on Monday. I'm going to say a 20-point loss for Wisconsin easily. What do you think, Billy?
Hold on, let me just look up my Bowl Mania shit.
Well, while you do that, here's what I want to know from bowl organizers. Is this really what you want to be putting out there in your New Year's Day bowl games? I mean, you got an automatic. I think conference tie-ins should be eliminated for all games that are playing on or just before New Year's Day, and this is why. 9-3 LSU should be playing somebody that's a lot better. Now, Grant, if this was the 12-team playoff, neither of these teams would be in, and we kind of be stuck with it. But I think you need to find a way to make these matchups a little bit better. Alec, Notre Dame Bowl was sad for Oregon State. Yeah, it basically became the Notre Dame Bowl, didn't it? Because the Sun Bowl just, stopped meaning a damn thing.
Yeah. Okay, I predict LSU to blow Wisconsin out of the water.
I gotcha. Still having some technical issues. Just bear with me, guys, as I get this fixed again.
You want me just sharing on my screen?
I almost got it back up. I appreciate it, though.
Alrighty.
But, I'm fully expecting at least a 20-point blowout in that game. And then, like we were mentioning a minute ago, we have coming up as well the Citrus Bowl between
the no bitches, no offense, and Iowa Hawkeyes against the Tennessee Volunteers.
All right, I'm trying to get this fucker to work.
And I will say this: Nico will have 4 touchdowns. 3
Nico's
passing, 1 rushing.
Interesting. It's an interesting prediction. I'm going to say Tennessee will win that game, but that Iowa defense is an absolute nightmare to stop. Michigan they could have probably if Iowa's defense wasn't as good as it was, you'd be looking at a 40-point blowout. Michigan only got about 20 points on Iowa in their
26.
game. 26, okay. Compared to the games where they were winning by 30 or 40 earlier in the season, that is something that I think Tennessee is not quite prepared for. Iowa's whole game plan is to shut down Tennessee's offense. That is the only way they're going to win that game. If they're able to hamper it just enough to force the quarterback to make a mistake, then you could be seeing a situation where Iowa could try to eke out a surprise win. But Iowa doesn't have an offense to speak of, so you're screwed either way there. I do want to touch base as well on the Verbo Fiesta Bowl, and I understand it's Liberty versus Oregon. I understand nobody really gives a shit about this game because of that, but Alec, I feel like bowl games used to be competitive, and I agree the portal and opting out has ruined bowls for the time being. The portal and opting out is a symptom of a system that is in general in a lot of fucking trouble. Just in general, when you look at it, because okay, go back to the 90s. Go back to the 90s. In the 90s, you had, 16, 18 bowl games, and all of them were against teams that were above 500. The lowest you could get into a bowl was 7 wins, if I recall correctly. So there's a lot that has changed. Our number of bowls have more than doubled since the 90s. So it's going to dilute the level of talent that makes these bowl games as well. But college football has not changed with the dilution of these bowl games. It's not changed at all. It runs on a similar system that it used to. The differences are transfer portals. The transfer portal is a relatively recent thing. In 2016, you didn't see this many opt-outs ever because of transfer portal, because the system was just so complicated back then. It used to be done all on paperwork, and you had to get approval from your athletic director and your head coach to go anywhere. But nowadays, you can just punch your name into a system and it's all done automatically, and then you're a free agent now. So that's a good comment, Alec. I appreciate it. Things will definitely be fixed in some areas. The transfer portal is not going to be fixed overnight. I hate to say. I know the NCAA is probably going to try to fix it. It will not be fixed overnight. And the main and simple reason is that it's complicated. It's like pulling teeth to get them to change anything, let alone a whole ass portal. Tiger Spawn, Liberty about to be smoked. That's what we were going to discuss. Do you think that there has been enough opt-outs via the portal or the draft or whatever that can give Liberty a chance here?
Maybe.
What do you think? Maybe? Tiger, maybe. I mean, I understand that the immediate thought when you see Liberty against Oregon in a bowl game is to just be like, oh, it's some slack, Sunbelt team that's going to go in. Liberty Sunbelt, I believe, right? No, they're Conference USA, even worse.
Conference USA.
Yeah, Conference USA. There we go. Well, technical issues have been resolved. We can get back to the bowl games at hand. Here's what I'm going to say about Liberty here. They had the easiest schedule in all of college football this season. There is no argument there. They had the easiest ride on paper to 13-0. That does not mean that it was easy to be 13-0. But they did have an easier ride. They didn't have as many top opponents as some other teams. Nobody's giving these guys a fucking shot. I mean, everybody is saying it's like on ESPN a 90% Oregon lean to predict this matchup. Game odds I'm showing have Liberty as at least a 2-touchdown underdog coming into the game. You're just,
if you will, in this
apologies.
one. What's in?
Yep, my bad. When I fixed the issue, I forgot to check the box that says mute this tab when you're sharing. So I'm going to fix that again, and we shouldn't have that happen again. Still figuring this out, guys. I would say if you're Liberty, I mean, they're going to be aggressive. Like, Liberty has nothing to lose coming into this game. And as we saw in the BCS years and in times past, these mid-major schools that wind up in the Power 5 crosshairs in the New Year's Six, hell, just Tulane last year in the Cotton Bowl beat USC after a historic comeback, I might add. Nobody gave Tulane a shot, and Tulane shocked the world. So I'm on the fence, and I don't know who really to pick here. Because you could say, well, it's Liberty. They had the weakest schedule in all of college football. That also means you don't really know how good they can be.
Yeah.
Sure, they had the weakest schedule, but that doesn't mean they're bad. They still beat everybody they faced. That's worth some merit here.
Yeah. Here's my question.
And not only did they beat everybody they faced, they beat them convincingly.
Exactly. Here's my question for this matchup. Is Bo Nix starting for quarterback for Oregon for this game?
No, I'm pretty sure he opted out.
No?
I'm pretty sure he opted out.
Okay.
Unless I'm completely mistaken.
I think
you
this
can double
is gonna
check
be
that.
Close.
You can double check it if you want to. If he hasn't opted out, I'd be shocked because he's going to the NFL in any case. But again, if I can just, I gotta figure out a way. Can I zoom in on this part right here?
Yeah, he opted out.
Yeah, so right away, Oregon State's going to their backup quarterback. But look at these scores. Look at these scores. Okay? Every single game they won, except for Sam Houston and Middle Tennessee, has been blowouts.
Middle Tennessee. Yeah.
And that's it. Every game that they have won has been virtually a blowout. Their quarterback, Salter, fantastic throwing the ball. Their wide receivers, fantastic. They had a track meet against New Mexico State, but they led pretty much the whole goddamn game. They never gave them a chance. So you're going up against another team in Oregon who the rushing, that's another thing. They can run the fucking ball. They can run the ball. Cooley is one of their best running backs, but Salter is also a mobile quarterback. Tiger Spawn. I don't really want Liberty to get blown out. Just the immediate thought. I do hope it ends up being competitive and maybe Oregon taking another L. This is what I'm thinking here. Because you look at Oregon, they were really, really goddamn good this year. They pretty much beat everybody they faced except for Washington. Washington was the only team that they could not get past. And that could tell you either two things. Yeah, twice. That could tell you two things. Number one, Washington is just that much better than Oregon State, and they have a right to be there, which obviously they do. Two, the teams that they played were not as good as we were thinking at the time. So I kind of want to look at their schedule here real quick and just kind of break it down a little bit. We're getting real scientific for the three of you guys that are watching this. I appreciate you all listening in. But I want to think about this with as much logic and facts that I can possibly use here, because that's the only way I think you're going to find out any shred of anything coming in to this game. So let's look at the schedule, and we can kind of all piece this together here. So starting out, obviously, we all remember the shellacking they gave Portland State. But then look at the next game after that.
A slacking.
38-30 against Texas Tech was the next game. Texas Tech is already done. They went like 500 this year. 2 weeks, then for about 3 weeks, they played really, really good. They beat the teams they should have beat, Hawaii, Colorado, Stanford. Then they lose to Washington. They beat Washington State, but not by that much. They weakened Utah, sure. California blows. They beat USC, wasn't that convincing? Convincingly beat Arizona State and Oregon State to finish the year. And then you lose to Washington in the Pac-12 title game.
Yeah.
All those numbers came from Knicks. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's going to be probably a shootout. Looking at everything I'm seeing here, it's going to be a shootout. Oregon's defense is a little bit better. It's better than Liberty's defense. I will say that. I do think, though, it's going to wind up being a shootout. It's probably going to be like a 35, 34 points for each side at least here. Because Oregon State, when they play against teams that are really good at running the ball and scrambling, they don't tend to do as well. Washington, you look at Liberty, I don't see that big of a difference in setup of an offense between what Washington has and what Liberty has, if you think about it. Alec Kazam, I just hope it isn't a snooze fest. I don't think it will be.
I don't think it's
Fiesta
going to
Bowl
be a
is
snooze
going to
fest.
be it's going to have a lot of fireworks, I think, to be completely honest with you.
It's going to be a fucking counter peg. That's actually going to be somewhat fun.
I think it's going to be really fun. It's going to be really fun, I feel like. I mean, especially with Bo Nix opting out. Bo Nix was playing this game. I'm going to say, Liberty, hey, have your free Tostitos and hit the road. Bo Nix not playing in this game is going to be very interesting because who the fuck is their backup quarterback? Let's look at the roster here. And, I mean, Oregon did just get, what's his name, from Oklahoma to transfer, but it doesn't really mean shit in the bowl game. Austin Novosad. Quarterbacks that they have on their roster are all
freshman or
sophomore. Very little experience. I don't know who's going to start on Monday, but this right here could be a giveaway that maybe you ought to, if you're going to bet, take a chance, put $5 down on Liberty, see what the hell happens. You never know, you might be right.
Unless you're named Alan Nadeau, and then you have that bias. Anyways.
I would love to get Helb on here to get his feedback on this. I think he's busy.
Yeah, Helb would just be like, where's the money, Lebowski? It's down there somewhere. Let me just take a look and just dump his head into the toilet.
Yeah. So I would say that don't sleep on the Fiesta Bowl on Monday. If you're going to watch a game, if you're not going to watch any other game at noon, if you're not going to watch the Citrus Bowl, if you're not going to watch the Reliance Bowl, if you're not going to watch any other bowl game at noon on New Year's Day, watch that game. Not just because it's New Year's 6th, but because it could be a historic game if Liberty is able to get a win there. And I think they have a better chance than what a lot of people are giving them. I don't know if they're going to win. I'm not going to, go and die on that hill. But they have an honest to God chance here. And I think they can do it. With what I'm seeing right here, just looking at the raw data, honest to God, Liberty could win. So we're going to move forward here. And I completely jumped the shark with my fucking tabs. Billy, anything you want to say while I get this shit figured out?
Other than just getting right down to the college football playoffs, yeah, I agree that Liberty may gonna be keeping it close against Oregon.
Right on. All right. Oh, I was right fucking here the whole time. Goes to show just how well I am at streaming. Still figuring this out. How am I doing?
You're doing fine.
Yeah. Audio okay? Let's get to the playoffs.
It's fine.
Let's get to the fucking playoffs. The most important games on the ticket. Alabama against Michigan in the Rose Bowl. By the way, some of you guys know I'm a field snob, right? Field is fucking gorgeous. I love it. Did you see the uniform patches they gave out
I will say
for
this.
Michigan?
No. But I'm gonna say this. This game is gonna decide the fate of college football for about the next couple of years.
And why do you say that?
It's mainly like the two titans going against each other. There's like Michigan, a team that's filled with scandal, but yet they could win so much, and Alabama, the old guard. Plus, you have that matchup between SEC and Big Ten.
That's good. This is
Okay.
what I would say. This is what I said in my bowl games video. On one side, you got a team that everybody fucking hates right now. And on the other side, you have another team that everybody hates right now. So both these teams, outside of their fan bases, are fucking hated by all of college football, which gives you a very interesting atmosphere coming in. Everybody hates all these guys. There's nobody likes these guys. But somebody has to win and go to the national championship in this matchup. So what do we got?
It's basically choosing the lesser evil out of both of these teams.
I'm cheering for the nuke. I'm cheering for the nuke to drop in the middle of the fucking Rose Bowl, and so there could be no winner. But that's not happening, and I'm not endorsing violence. So let's start with Alabama. We'll just kind of take a look at the tail of the tape here. The only team in the playoffs that have a loss this season. The loss was against Texas.
Well, two teams having a single loss.
No. Oh, wait. Actually, you're right. You're
Texas.
Right. Texas lost a game. Okay. So one of two teams in the playoffs that have lost a game. You look at their schedule from the regular season. Immediately, what kind of stands out, obviously, is their loss to Texas at home.
Almost losing to
USF. Yeah. South Florida gave them a run for their money early in the season.
And then they fucking turned their season around, which made that video that you made age poorly.
Yeah, I know. That video aged like a bunch of bad milk. It was I even put it in the title. I fixed it. Like originally the title was "Don't age horribly, damn it." And now it's "This aged horribly, ... damn it." So I was prepared. I knew it was reactionary. That's why I don't like making reactionary content. That's why it's taking so long to make my next video too. But you look at it after they had that scare against USF, they got their shit together. They rattled off a couple of good, solid wins in a row against Mississippi State, had a close call against A&M, which is questionable.
Arkansas.
They had a close call against Arkansas, questionable again. Then they had rattled off wins in big-time matchups against Tennessee and LSU, handily beat Kentucky, had a tune-up game before they nearly lost the fucking Iron Bowl to Auburn.
Oh, that's fucking... I still believe that divine intervention had a thing to deal with Alabama winning that game.
Or prevent defense prevents wins.
Exactly.
Like they drew up the play exactly how they wanted it. They threw the ball where the defender couldn't reach, and it's all she wrote.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously they had that. I know the score for the Georgia game is 27-24, but this game. The score of this game does not reflect just how absolutely dominant Alabama was against Georgia. They made them look like a bunch of scared puppies in that game. So Georgia got hot in that SEC championship game. When the lights are on, Alabama is hot, I should say. They're white hot. You don't fuck with Alabama when hardware is on the line. But the rest of this shit right here can't be ignored. And then obviously you got Jalen Milroe averaging a QBR of 77.5 coming into this game. He torched the Georgia defense in that game. He absolutely torched them on the ground and in the air. On the other side of this fucking game, My arch nemesis, University of Michigan, who Alabama's controversy from this season has everything to do with the fact that Florida State didn't get in. Their controversy is basically gone now, considering Georgia just took their asses to the woodshed. So we can consider that dead. Michigan is still very much in the midst of controversy after everything that they had to deal with this season. Harbaugh getting suspended the first 3 games, so we're going to overlook those 3 games. But then you also have the cheating scandal that kept them out of the final 3 games. And you could be looking at a situation if you're Michigan going into the next season. If Harbaugh does not sign this extension that Michigan is making them do, who, by the way, there's a clause in this contract that they're offering that would force him to stay at Michigan and not take an NFL coaching job for the length of the contract. And there's a reason why he hasn't signed it yet. I mean, do you think he would sign that deal at all? In general, in any scenario?
I do not know.
The NCAA is going to drop the hammer on Michigan in the summer. They'll release the findings of their reports, and they'll whack them with some sort of a scholarship reduction, which will hurt them in the long term, or a bowl ban, which will very much hurt them next season. And that could open the floodgates and absolutely decimate Michigan in the short term, because then you have people transferring out left and right.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, Michigan's all win or bust, because the program is probably going to go bust in the offseason from everything the NCAA is trying to pull here. You look at their schedule, they had a relatively easy schedule compared to Alabama. I mean, you look at, we're not going to talk about the first 3 games. Those were all tune-ups against lower division opponents that they absolutely slaughtered. Rutgers, a very good team this year, I might add. Rutgers, 31-7. Nebraska, slaughtered. Minnesota, slaughtered. Iowa, Michigan State, Purdue, slaughtered. It wasn't until the very end of the season where they actually got some competition, where Penn State gave them a run for their money, but they still beat convincingly. Maryland made it a little close there at the end of their game, still beat them. Ohio State, always a tough game where they
Still
won.
beat.
Looking at the stats, J.J. McCarthy, on paper at least, is a better quarterback. If you look at just the QBR, he has 85.8 QBR. Blake Corum at running back leads with over 1,000 yards rushing. Alabama, I want to talk about their highest rusher. Their highest rusher doesn't have shit. It's basically Milroe or nothing for Alabama, unless I'm mistaken. So looking at just the broad view, the broad, wide-angle lens view, I'm going to be going with Michigan to win this game. No, I'm not going to say I want. I want Alabama to win because I hate Michigan more than I hate Alabama. But I genuinely think Michigan could win this game based off of the raw data. But there's one factor that we do not have that we can measure on paper, and that's the head coaches. Nick Saban versus Harbaugh, dude. You know, it's like, you know, when Woody Hayes met Bear Bryant in the Sugar Bowl in the 70s. You know, these two have never faced each other in anything. So,
I mean, to make a Star Wars reference, it's like Obi-Wan versus Anakin in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, but both of them have turned to the dark side.
Yeah, so basically, it's just basically arguing who's better, Darth Vader or fucking Darth Maul.
Darth Maul was never on the same level as Vader. Don't even start there. Maul was he got tag teamed in movie 1, but he's not on the same level at all.
He managed to kill one of them.
I mean, yeah, one. But he was in the same room as Obi-Wan Kenobi. Oh, I genuinely think Michigan's probably going to wind up winning this game. I don't know how. I think Saban might be a better coach than Harbaugh, but I think Harbaugh has the better team than Alabama. It's hard to say because Alabama's had a lot tougher competition this season than Michigan. Michigan's had a relatively easier ride. I do think Michigan has a better team. So we shall see. And then the final game that we're going to touch on tonight is going to be the Sugar Bowl, which is probably the biggest outlier out of the college football playoffs. Nobody gives a shit as much, but they should, about the Sugar Bowl. I feel like that it's getting overlooked a lot, primarily because these two teams played each other last year in the Alamo Bowl. So they already kind of know each other a little bit. It's relatively the same team as well going up against each other. They just reloaded in the offseason and got increasingly, infinitely better.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, Texas 12-1. We're going to start with Texas here. And Alan Nadeau. How long has that comment been there? I was completely in.
You were too late, my friend.
We can go back. We can go back for Alan.
We could go back for later on after we discuss Washington versus Texas.
Yeah, we can talk about it. I'll send him the link and we'll see if we can get him up and we'll see if we can get his ass in here. So we'll hang tight for Alan Nadeau the third to join us, a good friend of mine.
I will say this. Like, if you see a certain image about Quentin Ewers like doing his media day, everybody was focused on Arch Manning. If I was Quentin Ewers, I would be grinding my axe for this matchup.
Ewers has always kind of been the redhead stepchild ever since they recruited Arch Manning. And I'm surprised Manning's not transferring to another team. That's probably because he's probably going to be around.
Well, I think he's going to be redshirted for this season.
All right. Joining us, Alan Nadeau. Welcome to this, whatever the fuck we're calling it, show.
This is my debut on your. This is my debut on your channel, so
absolutely. And thank you for showing up last night. Appreciate you stopping by to show support for the first tire fire of that live stream. It was something else. It was a lot of fun.
It was fun,
Alan, we're gonna discuss the Sugar Bowl, but then we can come back to we can bullshit around for a little bit after that if you want to chime in if you have an opinion.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
So what I'm doing is I'm just basically going through and just kind of looking at what we got in front of us here and just looking at raw data. I'm looking at schedules and I'm looking at stats, the bare stats. Not going to go too deep into it because you get too scientific, it bores the fuck out of people. So Texas, they obviously had that big win against Alabama on the road early in the season. And then the rest of the way, they kind of made mincemeat out of everybody until they ran into a brick wall against Oklahoma in the Red River Shootout. From there, they kind of got themselves together and fired off a bunch of good quality wins towards the end of the season, including an absolute shellacking on Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship. Tiger Spawn, hoping Texas can win it all, but Washington may have some pixie dust left in them. That's definitely the case, and I'm going to get to that when we get to Washington. Ewers has a QBR of 76, 21 touchdowns, 3,100 passing yards. Jonathan Brooks, an absolute bell cow running back, 1,100 yards on the ground this season. Thoughts?
I mean, look, considering the Pac-12 is dying and there's only 2 teams left, I'd like, and Washington beat us twice. Fucking kill me. Those damn Huskies always eating our ducks. But hey, look, somebody had to represent the Pac-12 in the Final Four, and if it ain't us, it might as well be them because they're our neighbors. So it's better than it being USC or somebody like that.
Yeah, you're not going too far down the tree there, I'm afraid. And let's talk about Washington. So obviously Washington has been undefeated, number one. You look at their schedule, not really a whole lot of close calls. They had a close call against Arizona. Obviously, their banger against Oregon, the banger against USC, the banger against Utah, the banger against Oregon State, the banger in the Apple Cup. They've had to really get some shit together the last half of the season. But then they look at these fucking stats. Penix Jr., 4,200 yards passing. Dylan Johnson, 1,100 yards on the ground. Odunze, their wide receiver, 1,500 receiving yards. Are you fucking out of your mind? How do you stop that?
Yeah, this is their second year of with head coach Kalen DeBoer, the good DeBoer, not like Peter, but done. And he's got a 24-2 record in 2 years. That's insane.
Right.
Legit.
Washington has been surprisingly, they have been really goddamn good. Ever since the their playoff appearance years back, and they kind of slept for a little bit afterwards, but man, have they been coming back, and they've been coming out fast and furious. I'm not quite sure how you stop this attack, though.
Because I'm looking at it right now. When they got DeBoer, they were coming off of Jimmy Lake, who was there for 2020 to 2021, was the defensive coordinator previously. He was the successor to Chris Peterson. Had a 3-1 record in the COVID shortened season, and couldn't play in the Pac-12 championship game, which I think led to us playing in that game because of COVID problems. And then 2021 happens. He gets suspended without pay for shoving one of his players in a loss to, ironically, us, and got fired with a 7-6 record. And defensive coordinator Bob Gregory served as interim coach for the final 3 games.
Right.
And it's so basically the Jimmy Lake era is like a small bump in the road between the Peterson and the DeBoer era, but to see what they've righted the ship rather quickly, which you like to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if they can knock off Texas and then the winner of Michigan versus Alabama, this will be their third national title overall, the first since 1991, when they finished number 1 in the
national championship
and earned the coach's trophy, as well as the NFF MacArthur Bowl and the Grantland Rice Trophy. The title was split with the AP poll picking Miami because so this would be I think this would be their first standalone because it says the 1960 team got picked by the Helms Athletic Foundation following Washington's victory over AP and UPI, national champion Minnesota. God, remember when they were good? In the 1961 Rose Bowl, where the final wire service polls were taken at the end of the regular season. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to side with Washington in this game. What I think, and the reason why I'm going to side with Washington is I'm going to reference Texas's game that they had against Oklahoma, where you had a matchup there that genuinely, I mean, Oklahoma's offensive attack isn't all that different than Washington's, in my opinion. Before the transfers, obviously, before all the shit blew up, but it wasn't that different prior. Texas has had a hard time playing against teams that have a outstanding mobile quarterback and wide receivers. So, Texas has done quite a lot to get better, but I do not believe that they have enough in the tank just on defense just to stop this attack that Washington has incoming. So I'm going to side with Washington. And, in my bowl games video, I mentioned how I believed Alabama was probably going to win because Nick Saban, he just finds a way to fucking win no matter what you try to do. And Washington because that's something else that needs to be said. Penix will kill, maim, and injure anybody that gets in his fucking way if it means leading this godforsaken Huskies team to a national championship. That son of a bitch has literally, I've seen him on the sideline after games, been bent over, broken in half, crying, sweating his ass off, and just looking like he's about ready to be sick for all the effort and shit that he did to force this team to the position that they're in right now. Not earn, force. It took them brute force to get here. And it's going to take them another game of brute force to get them out of here into the BCS, or not the BCS, I've been researching my fucking video, into the college football playoff national championship. Thank you. Thank you. So, yeah, it's going to be Penix Jr., I think, is just going to will his team to a berth in the national championship game come hell or high water. The only way that he is stopping, the only way Washington loses is if Penix gets shut down or hurt. And that's it. Nadeau, I saw that message in here. Are you fucking, this is not related to college football. Kevin Dunn's out?
Yeah. So apparently, I just saw this pop up on Twitter from breaking. PW Insider reports that Kevin Dunn is leaving WWE after more than 3 decades. Finally! No more 50 camera cuts every 10 seconds. Jesus. Holy shit.
Oh, wow. That is incredible.
Like, if you know, Kevin, if you know,
well,
you
I'm
know.
gonna
It's
hit
like,
the road.
holy fuck. Gonna what, Billy?
Oh, he just head out. It's all good, Billy.
No,
Thanks for being on.
Didn't
get a chance to thank you, but thanks for being on.
You know,
all right, well, that was interesting. That's interesting. Now,
yeah,
let's get back into this. Oh no, you mentioned you wanted to have something to say about the Liberty Bowl, so go ahead. What do you have to say about the Liberty Bowl? Or I'm sorry, not the Liberty Bowl. The
all right.
Fiesta Bowl hosted with Liberty in it.
Yeah. First of all, why is this the matchup we have? Because look, here's the thing. If I'm not mistaken, Bo Nix is not playing because he's going into the draft.
Yeah, he declared.
Yes, I believe he did. I don't have a list as far as like who else is transferred, declared, whatever. I don't know if Liberty's been hit by that. I wouldn't be surprised if they have, considering the fact of they went undefeated. But why? It's just this feels like a setup. First of all, this is the consolation prize for us because we lost to Washington twice, and the latter being in the Pac-12 championship game. So, which is the whole reason why Washington's in the championship 4. Had we beat them, we might be in there, or they'd bullshit Georgia in there. I don't fucking know, but so this is our consolation prize.
Before we go too far, Alec, sorry, Alec Kazam, thank you for subscribing, my man. I appreciate it. Please continue. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. I get it, man. But believe me, I understand. This feels like a setup. It's either we're gonna get our asses kicked somehow, some way, because what the fuck, or we literally beat the shit out of Liberty. And this is, if that's the case, then this is going to turn into another game that people will use as evidence for saying why they can't wait for the 12-team playoff because for these meaningless games, which I saw something about on Twitter a little bit ago. Somebody saying how
from Tiger Spawn, Knicks not opting out. Are we sure? I'm gonna look this up.
Are you sure about that? Somebody played a Cena clip. Are you sure about that?
Man, this is still a bare bones operation. I'm lucky I got a 5-minute transition to start the fucking thing. So
hey, don't worry, man. I get it, man. I get it. You're
oh Lord.
you're doing good for what you got so far.
Appreciate
But yeah,
that.
no, I mean, yeah. I mean, here, like, Bo Nix has had a hell of a season. Like, coming over here from Auburn, I mean, I don't know what the expectations were. He did pretty good last year. He came back this year. I would say, I think did better. I mean, look at that right there. 40 touchdowns to 3 interceptions.
That's an ungodly stat.
Yeah, and then over 4,000 yards.
Hey, what's up,
Oh, hi,
Illogical?
Illogical. So, you know, I've seen people joke about him going to New England, and honestly, Bo Nix just feels like a Patriot. It's either him or a defender from like Alabama. Feels like the ultimate Patriots pick, which is why I would not be surprised if we trade him. But that's neither here nor there.
Okay, well, while we're talking about that, let's see what the news headlines say.
Yeah,
Nothing about him opting out.
yeah, I don't. I'm pretty sure
Nothing
he's
new.
opted out. Last I knew.
Well, we're gonna need to get that double check somewhere. This ESPN app's not. This website on ESPN is not helping me at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's. God, that fucking sucks for Liberty if that's the case. If Bo Nix is playing, I don't think they win.
Yeah, no. If Bo Nix is playing, then Liberty is screwed. Like you're gonna get it. It's gonna be like the Raiders Chargers game in the first half, but worse. And I don't know how much worse it can go because that was
right.
bad.
Right.
I mean,
It's gonna be.
I'm not saying Oregon's gonna put up like 100 on them because they won't, but I mean.
That doesn't. Let's not discredit Liberty just because Bo Nix is playing.
I'm not trying to discredit them at all.
Let's just be clear here. They got enough. They probably have enough on offense on their own side to compete and stay with the Ducks, even with Bo Nix. It's just going to come down to who's going to make plays and who isn't.
Yeah, it comes down to defenses on top of that. I think Oregon's starting running back Bucky Irving, I believe is declared for the draft, I think.
Okay.
I mean I can look on Twitter because he would have posted it if he did.
So Same for Bo.
Oh no!
In the end,
nope. He's at the game because the Fiesta Bowls Twitter account posted interview with him. So, or not interview, but
Tiger Spawn. He cites 24/7 Sports, not ESPN.
Huh?
Look at the comment. Tiger Spawn. He meant 24/7 Sports, not ESPN. That's where he got his information from.
Okay.
And that's fair. That's totally fair. We don't really know what the team's going to be looking like until we get to Monday.
Yeah.
So, all right. I think I'm going to go ahead and call it. Been on this for about 90 minutes. And not much else really I can add here, to be honest with you. So, guys, Alan, any final words for the people?
All I'm gonna say is if we somehow lose to Liberty, I'm like, look, I'm done. Like, how? Well, not really, but like, Jesus Christ, like, like the only thing that Liberty has going for them is that they sponsor William Byron in NASCAR. Because if you know regarding that college, then you know there's shady shit that goes on with that college, and it's kind of a shame because that Byron ended up there for his education because people like Byron, but they don't like the college. So it's a whole thing. But yeah, no, Oregon, please, for the love of God, do not lose to Liberty. That's all I ask. That is, if you lose to Liberty, I understand Liberty's undefeated, but this is a game that Oregon should win. If they lose, locale of the fucking week.
Tell you what,
yeah.
I think we're gonna do something here. I normally like
Actually, I want to ask you, how are you feeling about Matt Eberflus staying for 2024? Because that got confirmed.
Is that official? for the Bears.
Yeah,
is
from
going to
what
stay
I've
for the
seen,
Bears.
that's been confirmed.
Huh.
Yeah, like from Rappaport and whatnot.
That could signal one of two things. Either they believe that this season was another round of just growing pains, and they're going to give him another chance next year with Hurts, or not Hurts, but what's his
Fields.
name from what?
Fields. Or are you thinking
Fields,
of the?
thank you.
Or are you thinking of Getsy, like on the staff?
I think I think for the Bears, we're going in NFL territory, but I think for the Bears, if you're looking at the lay of the land here, you got a lot that you need to get fixed. I don't know if Fields is the answer. I don't know if Eberflus can give you the answer. But
In my honest opinion,
I also don't think it would have been wise to cut Eberflus after a kind of a rough season.
yeah. I mean,
So
the fact that they're still technically in the playoff hunt because that's just how the NFC is kind of wild.
yeah, it's not a complete lost cause for a
Yeah,
season.
no, not yet.
They've been in
Not
the
yet.
race.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Like, again, up until no, Cleveland still does technically have a chance for the 1 seed if Baltimore loses to Miami and Cleveland
it's a
wins.
slim chance, but they have a chance.
Yeah, which is wild. But yeah,
It
no,
doesn't.
for
My
Chicago,
main thing is it doesn't really surprise me all that much that Eberflus is sticking around.
Yeah.
I would have been more surprised if they actually went ahead and fired him because the Bears aren't really known to make those knee-jerk decisions like that. But we shall see.
I think for Chicago, I think the biggest reason why they're English why they're going to keep Eberflus and therefore keep Justin is the fact of that they have the 2 first-round picks courtesy of Carolina, and what the Carolina's pick is going to be number 1. They have the option to go back-to-back years of trading out of number 1 if they want to, get a shitload of picks, and they also have their own first-round pick, which will be somewhere, so, and they don't even have to trade back that far. Or they can just, take their own first rounder and try to move that up. One way, or stay at number 1, take Marvin Harrison Jr., and then try to take your other first rounder, move that up a little bit, because again, it's really weird with the draft, with the NFC and all the records and all this other stuff, but you take that, you move up, and you try to grab one of these top offensive linemen because that's something that Fields desperately needs. So if you fortify the line and you got DJ Moore on one side and you got Marvin Harrison Jr. on the other, if you give the man time, or if you're Eberflus, just you go to Justin and just say, you know what? These last couple of years, previous styles have tried to do this, this, and this. It doesn't work. We're just going to let you be you. Let him do what he knows how to do. Let him play like he did at Ohio State and just see what the fuck happens. Again, DJ Moore on one side, Marvin Harrison Jr. on the other. Try to get one of these top offensive linemen. Try to get some more linemen in free agency. Fortify the fuck out of everything. You're not going to be able to fix every hole, but this is your last chance. This is your last chance with Fields. Maybe not with Eberflus, but if they fail next year, then he's probably gone as well. Yeah, that's just how I see it. Again, the Bears are going back-to-back years with the number 1 pick, and this time it's not even theirs, and they have options because of all of the quarterbacks that are going to be in this draft. Again, Caleb, Penix, Nix, Daniels, May. There's like 5 of them, and at least 4 of them are probably going to go in the first round. 5 maybe, because people have said Nix might not go first round, but who knows? So somebody might get desperate. Who knows?
All right. Fair enough.
But I think for Chicago, again, they will set the tone for this draft again.
Right on.
So
all right. So I'm going to do something a little unorthodox. I normally don't call my shot like this. I'm going to try to stream on Monday. I don't know if I'll stream the playoffs. I might stream the Fiesta Bowl Monday, depending on how things are looking on my end. I might also stream the playoffs. I don't know yet. It's going to come down to a lot of factors that are out of my control. So that might be the next time we do a stream, and I'll keep the community tab updated as to when that's happening. The next video, normal YouTube video. I did fuck around with the short today, but the next normal YouTube video, I'm going to have that out sometime next week. The script is nearly finished. So sometime next week, that new video should be animated and should be done. Hopefully, I'm going to work on that thing all day tomorrow, probably. And now I don't have any college football right now to distract me. I'll have a little bit more time to kind of get my head in the game and get that wrapped up. So thank you guys very much for watching. I appreciate those of you that trickled in here to see this impromptu stream as I continue to try to figure this shit out. And from Billy and Alan, thank you both for showing up. I appreciate it. Tiger, last comment. I do appreciate it. I appreciate your all support as we continue to grow this small community, trying to turn it into something that's a little bit bigger. We'll see what happens. I'm Red5478. This has been Alan Nadeau. We will see you guys later.